How is it going out there in the YouTubes today? Well, as you can see, I've got a little bit of a new format going on with the channel, and it's something I kind of hope to keep. Maybe not indefinitely, but for now at least, it makes my job a little bit easier in regards that I don't have to care what I look like. And on top of that, it allows me to do things a lot easier on my new computer. Well, I say new, but it's actually an old one that I got fixed. But moving on from that, let's get to the topic at hand. Now, this is going to be a lot more scripted, as I actually have my writing in front of me and you don't see me looking around like an idiot for my information. So, throughout history, religions have warred with each other over any number of reasons. This is a truth that most people can agree on. Every religion has had its transgressions, but as time went on, most mainstream religions evolved, changed their ways, adapted to the societies around them, and so on, so forth, etc. In today's world, quite a few people that say they're Christian, Jewish, and most other mainstream religions tend to not follow their religion very closely. There are exceptions, of course, but however, there's still a religion in today's world that holds tightly to its archaic and draconian ways. I am, of course, talking about Islam. And if that isn't a buzzword out there, I don't know what is. Now, bearing in mind, I'm well aware that not all followers of Islam are radicalized. However, recognizing fundamental flaws within a religion is the best way to eventually fix those flaws, even if people in the world don't want those flaws to be fixed, or they flat out refuse that they're there. Either or. Now, in regards to that, people in Europe are no strangers to Islamic extremism. Of course, with the increasing amounts of Muslim-only zones within European borders, a lot of people have a right to be a little leery of more refugees entering our country, and also considering explosions of rape and other violent crimes as well over the last few years within European countries. After the influx of these refugees, there's plenty of reasoning behind the disdain for not only the elitist politicians that allowed this to happen in the first place while hiding in their gilded cages and gated communities, but also the general dislike of the no-go zones amongst all of these other events that seem to be happening. Now, if you're unaware, no-go zones are places within these European countries where only Muslims are allowed, and anybody that's not a Muslim is, well, quite frankly, sometimes violently attacked. And I hate to say it, but that's not how the Western world is supposed to work. Now, rolling that up into a huge shit show with Sharia law zones popping up in Denmark and maybe elsewhere, as it's becoming more and more difficult to get honest numbers in journalism on these topics, with the dishonesty and constant working the shaft of Islam by journalists and politicians within the mainstream media. However, that aside, Sharia law is in no way compatible with the Western culture. It would undo years of work put into making every citizen in these countries equal in the eyes of the law. If you need to see an example of how Sharia law goes against our basic principles, merely look at the Washington Post article I have linked in the description, as well as the other sources that I have linked down there as well. Now, as for the extremism side of it, there were numerous polls done to see the general opinions of Muslims on certain extremist views within these Western countries, and some of them seem, well, a little disheartening. An example, a poll published by CBS News concluding that 25% or 1 in 4 of Muslims believe 7 out of 7 bombers were justified. Not just that they held slightly sympathetic views to them. No, they were justified in bombing innocent civilians. If that is an extremist, then I don't know where you draw the line. And quite frankly, I'm slightly confused at how it isn't in your own mind, if you believe that it isn't. But there's another poll that I saw, perhaps this one, which was another study that shows that 40% of Muslims are in favor of Sharia law superseding laws within the UK. Now, maybe that one could help you understand why some people view Islamic extremism as an issue in the Western world. Now, while the West mourns every terrorist attack, we try to mend wounds with hashtags and narratives of peace, and we all hold hands in solidarity for our lost loved one, which is, and of course, in of itself, a coping mechanism. However, you also understand, while we are doing this, we have groups only celebrating every attack and simply viewing it as, well, essentially a victory. Now, there's a chronicle of these attacks listed in my sources below, and one look will show these attacks are becoming far more commonplace. Now, I realize that this is a rant, and it was intended to be so. I have, I'm kind of playing around with this new format that I got going on, and I find it to be a lot more liberating than actually sitting in front of the camera. Since you guys can't see me right now, I'm free to make all kinds of weird hand gestures and whatnot. In closing, the reason why this is such a dangerous situation, aside from the obvious implications of Sharia law and Islamic terrorism, is the utter lack of ability for the mainstream media to seemingly take note of how these events not only happen, but also what the cause of these events are. In any attempt to say, you know, maybe there's an issue within the Islamic religion, maybe it needs to be changed, maybe something needs to happen, a revolution, so to speak. Any of these thoughts are met with accusations of, oh, that's just racist and that's just Islamophobic. But aside from the ultra-less obsession with Islam, to the point of saying Sharia is empowering to women amongst other people, that being utter bullshit, and also a multitude of other things that could be said on the religion as well. Aside from all of that, there's a conversation that needs to be had, and some want to have it, but it will never reach into the mainstream and into common discourse if people are constantly shouted down for simply holding opinions that some people would view as wrong think. And criticizing our religion doesn't mean that you hate it or that you're phobic of it. People criticize Christianity all the time. It doesn't mean that they hate it, and it doesn't mean that they're afraid of it. Yes, some people are afraid of it, and yes, some people do hate it. But that being said, there are still, to this day, very well thought out and very reasoned questions to Christianity that have been made. And the only difference is that when you question Christianity in the mainstream media, it's viewed normally. When you question Islam in the mainstream media, it's viewed as abhorrent, disgusting, and you're a vile racist. That is a thing that needs to change as well. Alright, now with this new format, I'm not sure how long I'm going to keep it. For me, it's just mainly, amongst other things, a lot easier. And as I get more and more used to the technology that I'm working with now, I might do a little bit more elaborate videos. But until then, I intend to keep my intended schedule of every Tuesday and Thursday. And that being said, I will see you guys Thursday. Have a good morning, afternoon, evening, and or night. And I will see you later.